Yo, what's up? I'm Coach Rich Thurman, also known as Coach RT3, and today we're going to talk about a few things that you can do to get a better stretch out of your hamstrings. Before we get started, make sure you click the subscribe button so you never miss a video from me. All right, let's get started. So oftentimes we're told to stretch our hamstrings like this. We bend forward, or we're in a seated position and we stretch both hamstrings at the same time. The issue I have with that is that even though it saves you a little bit of time to do 2 for 1, you can learn a lot more by getting more specific with the tissue on one side. So we're gonna do some setups that'll have you focus on one side at a time and then show you how to get the best out of those stretches. So first off, I've got a bench here. You can use a sofa, you can use an ottoman, a box, anything you have available to you. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna first bring your leg up onto that device, whatever it is. You're gonna have a slight bend in the knee joint here, okay? From here, instead of just slumping over the leg like so, what we're gonna do is we're gonna focus more on trying to find the stretch. So we've gotta seek out the stretch that we want. So what I wanna do is I wanna play around with my pelvis here, and I wanna shift my pelvis back or up. Imagine I have a tail on the back of my pants, and I'm trying to shift that towards the back of my neck here. So shifting it upward. If you have a big belt buckle on the front of the pants, imagine that belt buckle being pointed downward towards the floor. That's going to cause this stuff to be lengthened here, and you might find a good stretch there. If you're still not feeling enough of a stretch, you can start to pull the belly button forward. So I like to think about keeping a proud chest and pull the belly button forward, and then that should give me a little bit of a stretch there, and I can hang out in that particular position for my stretch. The other thing you want to think about is the fact that the hamstrings take up all this back stuff here behind the leg. So there's different lines of tissue that need to be stretched. And for that reason, we need to think about internal and external rotation of the femur. So if I set up here facing you, we're in the same position. Now I can think about this bone here, and if I rotate into external rotation, how does that affect my stretch? Do I get a different stretch of tissue? Your hamstring tissue is going to be affected differently depending on where your femur is inside of the hip joint. So if I'm in more internal rotation, I'm going to get a different stretch there. If I'm in more external rotation, I'm going to get a different stretch there. We can also consider doing that same stretch from a seated position. So I'm going to sit in a position nice and tall here, and I'm just going to lean forward. I'm going to shift the pelvis back just like I did before, and I'm just going to lean forward just a little bit, and I'll get that stretch there. So if you're at your office or you're at your desk and you can't really get out somewhere or stick your leg up on a chair or things like that, you can find this nice convenient position seated anywhere as well. All right, and the same things there. You want to focus on trying to see, do I have any more stretch or a different stretch from external rotation or internal rotation of my femur in this hip joint? Now, of course, me being me, we're not just going to stretch that tissue. If you know anything about training with me, we're about creating active control of our ranges of motion. So stretching is only one component of the solution. So we're going to strengthen that tissue as well. So we're back in our standing position, and here what we're going to do is we're going to stretch that tissue for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, we're going to perform an isometric. We're going to try to scoop our heel down into the floor, activating all this stuff here. We're going to ramp up to our maximal effort, and after we ramp up over a course of about 10 seconds to our maximal effort, we're going to try and pull the opposite direction. Now, I shouldn't be able to lift my leg here. I should feel all this stuff on the front side of the hip contracting, but I shouldn't be able to lift my leg at this point. If I'm able to lift my leg at that point, then I'm not at my end range of motion. So for example, if I lean back here and I move out of that position, or I untuck my pelvis here, I'm able to now lift my leg off the bench. But if I'm in this position here where I've tucked my pelvis under and I've put that hamstring at length, I can't lift off from here, okay? So that's the position you want to stretch from, but that's also the position we're trying to strengthen from. Think about that as well as you move into external rotation or internal rotation. We want to not only stretch the tissue, we want to strengthen the tissue in those spaces. Hopefully you found this video helpful in stretching your hamstrings. If you like this video, please hit the like button and be sure you subscribe to my channel to make sure you get everything related to strength and conditioning and mobility training.